стриминга, който тече паралелно на нашата прожекция. Okay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to this online premiere and live premiere in Sofia of Amazon Dance Performance. My name is Galina Dimitrova-Dimova. I'm DAFest co-curator and organizer, as well as Ethica Labs program curator. Actually, this event tonight in Sofia and online broadcast to many countries across Europe is collaboration between DAFest and Ethica Labs. But I'm very happy that tonight we are together with the authors of this performance that we just watched, Nico Angiuli, the director, and Katarina Ellerhep, choreographer and dancer. First, I'd like to introduce them shortly. Nico Angiuli is a visual artist and film director, professor of performing arts at the Academy of Fine Arts in Italy. Since 2006, he has realized trans-border projects between Albania, Spain, and Greece. And Katarina is a dance artist, computer science researcher. She is also academic researcher at Athens Research Center and just lectured at the Department of Performing and Digital Arts. So tonight we will have the chance to talk with them more about Amazon Dance production and to hear more about the idea, the process of creation, because probably you read already, but it's a brand new project. It was created this summer during Nico Angiuli Artist in Residence in Onassis Center in Athens. So we are actually very honored to be the second place that this performance is presented after Athens. And I'll start with the question first to Nico, because this project is very much related with your previous project, which is called the Human Tools, in which you also explore the labor and the human interaction and this reduction of complexity of human labor. Would you please tell us more about this idea? And actually, what struck you to this interest to labor in your artistic practice?
Thanks, Galina, and of course, thanks for the invitation to the DAFest. First of all, I want to thanks again the IMA Prize that gives me this opportunity to realize this project with Katerina and many other authors and artists in Greece, and the Onassis Stage Cultural Center in Athens, who produced the research. And as you said, I'm a visual artist, and my background is related with my country. Let's say I'm from southern Italy, so I have to say that this kind of investigation comes from the development of a way of watching my landscape, my native landscape, that is related with agriculture. And Human Tools is one of the projects that comes from this point, starting point. I was starting investigating the labor gestures, some like 12 years ago, and we easily and simply, let's say simply, create this kind of temporary group of dancers, but made by farmers. The idea was to remove the tools of the labor from the bodies, asking these farmers to move into another kind of space, replying what they used to do in the daily labor. And what can I say? If I try to watch these 2 points, you know, the starting point and Amazon Dance, we produce together, we work together, it's something that, of course, belongs to me and Katerina and to this starting point. But in a very different way, because if at the beginning I start to investigate the physical gesture, what you can see going into the field, now what we've just seen is not related with the movements of the labor of the workers into the shelf of into the corridors of Amazon. What we just saw is the system behind. It's more related with engineering, informatic, and this is more or less how I create this kind of switch from agriculture to industry, let's say. And of course, Amazon Dance, it comes from this other project, Human Tools, where I investigated the reduction of the human complexity, as you said, and the Amazon worker is one of the example of our contemporary, where the workers are just standardized as a robot, so they are predicted. The performance, it must be predicted, and also this 1 hour video, it's an attempt to give you a sensation to work with them, you know, to work inside, because this loop is kind of an attempt to give you this sensation of being inside something you already seen, you already know, and that's it.
Thank you. And I would like to turn to Katerina, because it's very interesting. You have multiple roles in this performance. Nico, can you pass the mic? Thanks. Because on one hand, you're this computer science researcher, and you contribute a lot with this research of algorithms that are very much exploring this performance. On the other hand, you're the choreographer and the dancer. So please tell us more about your experience and how you're involved in this process of creation.
Thank you so much for being here, first of all. It was a very interesting process and experiment, if I can say, because as a researcher, as a human-computer interaction researcher, what I was doing so far was trying to find representation and codes to document dance movement and translate it into system, let's say. This was the opposite direction somehow, and it was challenging at some points because we wanted to remain consistent to the algorithm. But of course, dance is a completely different thing. So there was this reduction, and in this algorithm, it's all about efficiency, and it's all about how to do things. Like with one system, you can repeat forever, and this as a dancing, it might become a little bit uncanny, I can say. So yeah, and it was interesting also for me because it was not about the gesture. It was somehow in this space we try to represent the abstract space of the algorithm, the representation, like the graph, and somehow the body became a kind of symbols in space to produce this black box of the algorithm in a way.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we see that in the core of this project is really the algorithm. And more precisely how you translate this algorithm into performing bodies. So I was curious why you're so much interested in the algorithms, why you use this as a starting point of your artistic creation.
It's to me the question.
Yeah, probably to you as a director, or to Katerina. You can
For me, it's very interesting because recently we're very interested in algorithms because of artificial intelligence and machine learning and so on. But algorithms is much more old than this, and it's of course it's something that coming from mathematics, but it's also some embodied, let's say, nature of algorithms. In a way, it's something that we do. Of course, we don't do it the same way. So this is what it's interesting for me.
Okay, then Nico, to you. Because in the performance you raise some very important questions, I think, that are very relevant nowadays. Like, is the human labor or the robot is more cost effective? And it's very much related with the topic of this Ethical Labs project that we are also working on. So can you share us about this AI and ethics debate? What's your point towards this?
Yes, well, I want to just remain to what Katerina already just said that algorithms is something not so fresh, in the sense that comes from a lot of times ago. Now it's been reused for different in different forms, as for example in the globalized capitalism, and this way of working and treating also this question using oranges, for example, is not just because we like oranges, of course, or because they are cheap, but because this is also an attempt to reconduce this some strange, not clear essence that is the algorithm in something that belongs to us. And all of these buildings, all of these constructions in terms of images are also an attempt to represent, this kind of system as the algorithm is. Yes, before we were thinking about this, about the ethics of producing images, and if this is also an open question to the audience. If this is a project, a video that interests you, independently from the reason why it's made, so from the roots, that is the Amazon algorithm, the Amazon warehouses, and the labor system, or it's important because it's related with Amazon. This is an open question, I think, and this is also the sense of the ethics of producing images in our time, even if we remain into the space of visual production, how important is this kind of approach, this kind of translation, and yeah, it's an open question still, because we just made this some weeks ago, we finished, and we still have to think about, because we found, we created this method, that is, of course, grammatically is correct, in the sense that we, and Katerina, maybe you want to speak about this, we remained very strict connected with the source code, with this algorithm in terms of how it works, and all this representation is the calculation of the shortest path. That means how the workers have to go to pick products. And yeah, but I think we are at the beginning of something that we have to develop, and we are in this reflection of how to continue, having this approach to the images in this way, because there are many other moments, many other algorithms that drives other moments of the Amazon warehouses, the inventorying, the storing, the delivering, the ordering, that it can be translated in this way, but maybe another form of also involving other people, for example, workers. That was impossible at this time, because it takes time to have also Amazon workers, for example, into this kind of representation. Now here we see just dancers, but will be very interesting if we can open also this visual production of images to this kind of group, this kind of worker group. So,
would you like to add something to this point, or we can maybe invite the audience to ask questions?
No, we can go
Okay.
for questions.
Okay, good. So now you're invited to ask the artists any questions if you. Okay, so here's the mic.
I don't know, it's mine, it's like a proper question, maybe it's like a working question. Because like, let's say that Amazon Dance, it's clearly taking the topic of the work, but the labor, I mean. But it's also the topic of the walking and moving freely in a space. Because something that I realize only now, because it's the first time that I saw entirely the piece, is the idea of the shortest path, the idea of the better way to reach something. That means that if we're talking about like artistic movement, we are just erasing, in a way, we are just canceling the idea of the tournament that was typical from the situationism. So the idea of walking, of wandering freely in a city, in a space. So this idea of being tracked, because every one of us has got at least one app that track you. So, and why are you, that's why I don't know how to pose this question, but the idea is, how are you going to articulate also this idea of the tracking, of the idea of the impossibility of free movement in a society of total control? That is more or less the working question, let's say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the restriction of movement is something, again, that is maybe, again, older than the tracking systems that we have today. And in a way, at some points I was wondering, like, because in the beginning we thought that the idea was to have the algorithm or the code and create out of it a score. And in a way you can see that a choreography that it's very restricted is a kind of restriction in a way. So, and also we are restricted in many ways. But what we have now is, I would say, it's not the tracking, but the quantification of the body or everything, that it's, we are numbers actually, and everything should be very efficient. And it was challenging when we created this choreography, because after all, it's a performance, and we worked also with the dancers, so we had some moments of improvising and creating some movements. So it was always an in and out process for me, as a process. Like I was going into the body, and then into the abstract space, and then into restriction. And it was a continuous struggle and continuous negotiation about this. Yeah, it was. I was thinking, like, where is the because dance is expressive movement, and here somehow we restricted this in a way, because if the movement of the Amazon, and this also this is supposed to be the algorithm that guides every step and every movement is time, is cost. So you want to reduce everything to be effective. But somehow what is interesting for me, it's somehow always this expression, and something escapes and in the body. I mean, even this, of course, but for our everyday life, yeah, this is a good question. I mean, just to reflect everyone how we are restricted in our movement every day, because it's not just a tracking system. It's all, we live in a culture that we're always thinking about productivity and to become more effective. And one concept that is very central to Amazon Dance is also the greediness. Because it's something, it's a notion you can find in the algorithms, and a greedy algorithm finds for the absolute optimum, so it tries everything. But it's something very central in our country. We want to be more productive, more efficient, more effective every day. So it's a kind of restriction. And I think there's a kind of contradiction in this, because somehow we want to do more and more and more to expand, but it's a kind of restriction in a way for me. I don't know if you want to add something or that answer.
No, I was thinking about this Amazonification of the society, because of course when you start to imagine that the only way to buy something is to go on Amazon, and the only way to search something online is Google, you are reducing your point of view. And I think we must start to imagine this I was imagining this, starting to think about this Amazonification of our daily life. What does it mean? This is another open question. But of course, what we tried simply is to show something that is completely hidden, because this is a private algorithm from a company. But as we said before, it must be open, because when you have 1 million of workers around the world working for you, this is not just something that belongs to a private company, it belongs to the society. But we just found something that is very close to the Amazon picking algorithm. And of course, if we think about us, we always search for the shortest path in our life, always. The shortest way to make money, the shortest way to cook, the shortest way to read a book. Oh, no one reads a book anymore. Just the parts interesting for something. You know, this is the opposite approach to the tournament. That is, okay, let me have a walk and let me arrive to the moon. And without remembering why you started to walk. And this is the opposite of the Amazonification, I think. And yes.
Thank you. Any more questions from here?
I have a question because it looks like the core it's a question of optimization, the shortest path, the instructions, the algorithms that work for efficiency. But why the four parts was time-consuming? They looks, because shortest path also could be shortest time. During the whole pieces, why the performers need more time for each part, but not in opposite?
No. If you see it again, it's not that from the first to the fourth is not an increasing time. Of course, there is some kind of tiredness, but what we just tried to do is to measure bodies, in this way. And maybe you know that the Amazon workers had this scanner GPS with a countdown of 30 seconds to pass from one object to the other. So it means that you have to pick like 400 products per hour. And we just start to reply this kind of, target in this way. And we're just measuring the slot of the calculation, and then at the end you see the real workers. When you see the dancers naming product and screaming and searching to be faster and faster and faster.
And also, I think it's not a very fast dance. This is, I think, is your comment more about, it's about optimization. Because in a way, I think it's, we were interested about the embodiment of this process. And the body has always its limitations. And for me, it was a kind of reminder that now we have this illusion that we press a button and there is no labor work. And also, we watched a lot of videos of workers, and it's interesting to see that they have this these goals that they have to do more and more. But if you in some, their movement is kind of slow, not slow like this repetition, that in a way you become disembodied when or dehumanized in what you do, and you repeat every day. It's something that it repeats itself, and for the body it's something that goes nowhere. It's a different way when this translates to the body. So for me, this makes sense. I don't know if this answers your question.
Okay, now I'd like to put a question which comes from the online audience. There is this question of John Sinvade. I'm curious about the reason Nico and Katerina decided to work with female dancers. And can you tell us more about the costume design?
I don't remember.
Well, yeah. For me, it was a reference for the human machines in a way, because it's again a reference or a reminder that there's always bodily work behind what we see now in technology. The human machines when ENIAC was the first computer, we were women working and literally having these handles as the buttons to calculate everything. Yes, this was the idea, and the colors. I mean, I'm not a costume designer, but I can say about the colors. Why these colors? Because it's the idea again of having the bodies as a representation. I mean, this was an idea that came out when we were reading the code in paper and tried to translate this, and it's something that we see a lot in everything. So the bodies they create a kind of code also on screen. Yeah.
Yeah, even because this source code we found was very full of colors. And for me, that was the first time I faced this kind of instructions. It looks like a poem in a certain way. And more Katerina explained to me the sense behind of this Python, what Python code. We start to see it as really as a narration, as a text, not anymore as a formula, as a mathematic something. And then, okay, because there were some words like true, false, if, inside the development of the process. And, you know, say, okay, there is it's kind of literature inside, you know, kind of doubt, no, kind of, and it were colored, you know, if was violet, effort was green, and okay, we say, maybe we can store this kind of detail, and then also for the women's, well, the humans, this is the decision at the end, I think, to work with human beings, not if they were men or this belongs also to. No, at the end, Katerina has to create, has tried to create a crew that was possibly well engaged, and that's it.
It's this point about this hidden that Nico said before. We somehow go inside this black box. So also the female labor in computer science, it's something that it's hidden, and this and also there is kind of things go slow sometimes. Also the way that algorithms develop. Now we have this illusion that everything is very quick, but there is a lot of effort and failure also is included in this process. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Can I just invite Corina Kokkali that performed for us online, live, not for the camera in streaming, but for us.
Yes, sir.
And I want just to say that maybe Katerina wants to add something, that this we performed with Katerina Kokkali here. And this is another attempt to reinterpret what we already made, to be more free from the constraint of being adherent to be close to the algorithm as we made into the video. And this is also something for us to think about. So thanks again, Corina.
Thank you. Yeah. Katerina, you want to say something? Final words?
No, thanks to Corina. Thanks also to the other dancers that are not here with us, Stefania Gogu and Georgi Alferi. Yeah, And yeah, today was another layer with the performance that you show live because we had the kind of shadow. So we're still exploring and developing this idea. It's fresh, as Nico said. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being with us, for talking with us. At the end, I would like to put the credits to this event here. So I'd like to thank Anasi Stegi for the production of this performance, to EMAP program that supported your residence in Athens, to Creative Europe who funded this MRE program. Of course, to Goethe Institute in Sofia to be host of this event and also to be collaborator to DAFest in this presentation tonight. And to all the festival partners and supporters. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. Have a nice evening and yeah, come to the next to the audience in the hall, to the next performance, which will be in Derrida dance stage. So see you hopefully there. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.